Hello, everyone. Welcome to the podcast, our very first episode. We're both very excited to be able to bring this together. It's been a couple of long, hard months that we've put a lot of planning and preparation into this. We're very excited to kick it off and really get this thing underway. We've had a couple of hurdles along the way, but we've sort of bounced back, and that's the true sort of meaning of this podcast and where we want to get to anyway. We couldn't have done it. There's a lot of people we need to thank for putting little pieces together to make this whole jigsaw work, and we'll sort of go into that. But from both me and Chris, we're really, really humbled by the support that we've received, and we can't do it without your help. So I just want to say a very big thank you. We're very excited. We want this thing to last forever. So we're really, really happy and so excited that it's kicked off and ready to go.
And what a journey, mate. Like from a simple idea of a podcast to all of a sudden needing to design logos and trying to stop people throwing us money. We have to start setting up all sorts of things that we weren't even ready for. It sort of happened a lot quicker and grew legs faster than we thought. But what an incredible journey for the last couple of months to get going and see this thing just unfold. And kudos to you, Chris. You're the one that is the brains behind the initial idea and threw it at me. And, how could I say no? You did a pretty good pitch in the car. And from that conversation, it just blew up. So
I think we were talking mortgages, weren't we?
We were talking mortgages, and then it ended up into somehow talking about our challenges, and then just went berserk. And even I couldn't keep up with you, mate. You're on fire. We'd sort of planned that we'd be doing this first episode somewhere in November, and here we are in October already looking at putting this first one out and doing a bit of testing. So a few little hiccups this morning, which looks like it. Hopefully we've ironed out and it gets a little bit easier as we move forward. But what a great initiative, and get a bit more into the why soon. But Tony's here with us today, and thank you for helping us with our first episode. Kudos to you for jumping on board, and one of many. So let's get into it, eh?
Yeah, 100%.
I think you guys got these heaps of support from the community, the IT community and your communities generally, because it's such a good story to tell. I think we don't have this conversation enough. And I think just having a couple of good Aussie boys talking about mental health is important.
Yeah. And we shouldn't be scared to do it. There's so much stigma around it, and it's true. But the last 5 years, the last 5-10 years, it's come so far. But I don't know, you're right. It went 0 to 100, Chris, and I think that's testament to the idea and what we're trying to do. We don't want to sit back and wait for the next headline on the news or the radio or one of our mates or anything like that. We want to get this thing going to try and push things along and help people and be that person that can lend an ear or get guys just thinking a little bit differently. It has gone 0 to 100. It has gone really fast. Enjoyed every second of it. Funny enough, I've probably lost more sleep with ideas that pop into my head, and I'll send Chris messages at 1 o'clock in the morning. I got this idea. I'll put it in the spreadsheet and we'll talk about it. So I think it's just a testament to the whole idea.
The crazy thing is that sometimes I reply at 1:30.
Yeah. Well, it's good for you because you're in Darwin, so an hour and a half advantage. So yeah. Look, on top of all that, we have a lot of thank yous to go through, and look, we're going to try and cover as much as we can today. It is the first episode, and this is going to grow as we progress and it will mature, and we'll get to where we want it to be. But look, there's a couple of simple things we need to call out straight away. I just want to give a big thank you to Russell Parlay, who has done the music for the podcast. It's not easy, and I set him a task. He's a lifelong friend, and I said, here's the idea. Without knowing too much, I need you to come up with something, and he's really, really turned something out of nothing. And it's just really, really humbling that people like Russell just go, yep, here it is, and a week, 2 weeks later, we've got the information, and we've got something to work with. So the next person is you, obviously, Tony. Really appreciate just the response and the passion I can see wanting to help. It's funny, you said to me when we started talking about this, you're like, why wait until November? Like, what are you guys doing? Like, you've got everything, you're ready to go. What are you doing? And we're like, yeah, it's a good point. What are we doing? So, look, I can't do it without the help of yourself and the general IT community out there. And that's how we're connected through IT. We go way back from Express Data to where we are now, where, we have a really good working relationship. And look, we can't do this without you. So I just want to say thank you from the bottom of our hearts. Yeah, we really appreciate it. And we know that this is the start, and we've probably been here for about 45 minutes trying to get this thing going this morning. And it just comes across like you're a true professional. We really appreciate that.
Mate, the demos are always the most difficult. I usually try to record them to play them at sessions, but this is real life stuff. So it's always going to be challenging. But as I said to you, help is always there when you need it. But more importantly, the guys who may need our help, not just as a tech, but for their mind's sake. So that's what I respect what you guys did. So here I am.
Beautiful. Thank you. I just want to quickly thank the donors. The donators. We'll go into how it all works later on, because it still is a little bit unclear on how and what we're trying to achieve. And as we go through the podcast today, you'll sort of get a better understanding of that. But look, everyone that's donated so far, we're just blown away. Like, in the first 2 weeks, we launched it on Facebook and LinkedIn. I think we raised nearly $1,000 in 2 weeks, and that's without a product. That's without even trying to get people interested. It's more just friends, family, colleagues. And the support that we've received, and even some of the messages we're receiving, and people saying, oh, look, it's only this amount, or I can only do this. It doesn't matter. It's so humbling to see that people will take time out to go in and have a look at what we're doing and then donate for the two causes that we've selected. So we can't do it without your help. We have so many good, exciting ideas that we're going to release over time, and we really thank you, and we're so appreciative of you coming along this journey with us.
And all the people too that have opened up. This has already started a conversation amongst our networks and amongst both private and business relationships. Again, every time we talk about this, someone will see something on LinkedIn and they'll approach me about it now, which means that we haven't even tried that hard yet, and we're already starting to hopefully make an impact, which fantastic for all those people that are willing to come forward and start opening up and telling me stories of people that I've known for 10 years that hadn't told me prior.
Yeah.
So it's already working, and I think we're onto something here.
Yeah.
Thank you. I think we're up to about 1,200 now with the donations. So I want to share my thanks to all those people as well.
Yeah. We also just want to throw out that since we've launched, we've received support from trained professionals. We clearly aren't. We're just guys next door, and our advice that we give and the information we give is based on life experiences. We're just humbled that we've had so many people reach out to us and say, hey, look, this is what we do every day. We want to come and help you from a medical professional point of view, to be able to answer the questions for the people that need help. And that's what we're trying to do, just bridge that gap, be the guy next door. But then if someone did need help or they want to work out what the next steps are, then they can reach out to these people. And look, we've had people from, Chris, I guess you can go into it, from the professionals that we've had come to us, but it's a range. It's a range of people. Yeah,
look, we've had pretty much from the early launch of the branding, before we had even done much about the story of what we're trying to do, we've had a couple of organisations reach out from psychology and physical education people to talk about how those areas can impact on your mental health. We've had a nutritionist who also wants to take part, and we'll probably have some of those on a session together in the future. We've had sports people reach out. We've had even a couple of the charities that we're nominated, which is Gotcha for Life, which is nominated by Chris, and Red Nose, which is nominated by me through our personal stories. Both of them are right behind us at this stage as well. I can only talk more to Red Nose because that's what I've had direct dealings with, but they're right behind us on this, and they're hoping it works, and they're really investing heavily in the men's health space. So they're right behind us and making sure that this takes off.
Yeah,
it's just been phenomenal, the amount of contact we've had from just an idea.
And look, and the last bit we sort of need to do here is just thank the most important people in our lives, and that's family and friends. This takes us away from our dad duties. This takes us away from work. It keeps you thinking nonstop. And as I was saying before, like I'm a big sleeper, but since we've started talking about this whole thing, I'm probably averaging, 4 to 5 good hours sleep a night now, because my mind's it's just going constantly. So look, family and friends, we know, and thank you for sticking with us, and we know that the start is going to be a long burn, and there's flying here. I'm going up to Darwin. Chris will come to Sydney twice. There's a lot of time away from home. So look, thank you everyone, and we just need to keep that support going and keep building this platform like everyone's doing. So please like, share, all the normal sort of stuff so we can get the biggest range.
And I think that the main thing is about community. I think if you're looking, and I think that's why you guys have got so much support, the community wants to see good things happen to people who are struggling. So good on you. Good on you. But hey, guys, I want to switch it up a bit because, I got my MC voice on.
Yep.
How did you guys know each other?
I'll let Chris start because I want to hear what he has to say first, and then I'll throw in my little bits and pieces.
I was reflecting on this a little bit this morning, actually, and on the way in, I remembered watching Lloyd and Harry from Dumb and Dumber, right? And I'll never forget the story that they have where they're on the way to school in search of, or Lloyd was on the way to school on the search of treasure that his mum told him to find, and they bumped into each other and become essentially instant friends. I guess in a sense, well, we were sort of similar. We met at Endeavour High School, and I don't really remember the exact moment. I remember him across the playground with a weird smile and waving at me, but I don't remember the exact moment, but
I'm pretty sure you had shoulder length hair or a ponytail.
Easy, mate.
I'm pretty sure.
Probably in the 80s, what was it, 90s? I probably did.
90s,
yeah, well, that quickly disappeared. But look, we just bonded at school, and then all of a sudden I was at his house just about every night. Part of this story is our stories, right? So I grew up fairly poor and not a big house, and so I found solace at his place and with his family. So at one point there, I think for a good 6 months, I was having dinner with them every single night, to the point where if I didn't turn up, they were a bit concerned where I was. And there was even a few occasions where I went there and had dinner with him and he wasn't even there. So I think we sort of lost the friendship and become more brothers for a period there, and it's never sort of altered. We've had times away, we've had times where we haven't spoken for months, but every time we get back together, it's like nothing has happened, right?
Yeah.
So I think when we're talking in the car, that journey of that car trip was a big one, mate, because I think we realised that it was 28 years, I think. That we've been mates, and it's still the same.
We're both best mans at both weddings. We've done a lot together. We've experienced a lot. One of the memories that I have, and this I scratch my head now and think, what were we thinking? But
I think I know where this is going.
1997, right? World of the internet.
Dial up.
Dial-up internet, dial-up modem. Chris had had a computer at your house, and never seen anything like it before. What is this? So we started getting on the chats and the online chats, and we met these two girls from America, Michigan, I think, sisters. And the way it was back then is Chris sort of had this relationship romance with this younger one, and I had the older one, and we were doing shifts at his house, sleeping on the lounge because of the time differences, so we could chat to these girls. And so when they were finished, okay, your turn. So he'd go to sleep, and I'd sit up and sit on the computer until 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. But look, there's so many memories. Like the biggest thing for me, and I really mean this, I really, really honestly mean this. We drifted apart. Chris has travelled a bit for work and with kids and life, it sort of gets on. But we've always been in contact, like you said. But I don't think we've spoken to each other as much as we have in the last probably 3 months than what we have in the last 5 years. And I really mean that. And this, for me, this is one of the best outcomes for doing this podcast. Helping people, yes, but connecting with Chris again, and we've both got young kids, and we're excited to see where the future is there and how we sort of get them growing up together and that sort of stuff as well. It really brings us to this point where now, as I said, Chris has been down twice. I'm going to Darwin early November to build on this idea, and it's brought us really close together. So
absolutely, it's interesting how like when you're younger, you don't have the burdens of life as much. So it reminds you when you meet a friend of many years what it could be and how we got here, reflecting and giving you perspective.
Yeah, and both of us still have friends from high school we still talk to. Like, you know, it's one of those years that, you know, through going through high school, that you still connected with these people. Probably not as connected as we are, but there's still a handful of guys we still speak to and communicate to. And even some of the people that have reached out in the podcast that are now trained professionals have reached out and said, love what you're doing, want to get involved. People we haven't spoken to in years and years and years. So, so it's very humbling to get to this point where we are right now. So.
And Chris has always been looking for an opportunity to get on camera too. Talking about some times back in when we had this dial-up.
Easy, mate.
Chris was into the podcasting before podcastings were a thing. Chris and I had done an episode of something. I don't even know what we
can cut all this, right?
We're live.
We had one of our other mates, Brian, come and video it. Mate, I watch it now still in stitches. The most ridiculous thing we've ever done.
It was actually a video for the two girls overseas that we're going to send it to. It never got there, thank God, but it was a video based on our life stories, and we were doing it on an old handicam. And
I think we need a reenactment. We're going to have to
we've got the tape. We've got the tape. Don't worry, we've got the tape.
Team, I know it's a bit early in the piece. I want to give the viewers, because I'm always interested in these things. What was the key thing that made you feel like you needed to do this? Each of you guys.
From my point of view, I've been through a couple of issues in my life of anxiety. Not so much the depression side, more just the anxiety part. And I've always had this connection when I hear something's happened to someone, or someone's unfortunately ended their life or anything like that, and it's hit home, and it actually gets me down a little bit, even though I don't know this person. It actually gets me down that this has actually happened. And I'm sure that's 99% of the population, right? But for me, I was then going, okay, what could potentially this person been going through? Like, is this something that the way I've felt? And is this something that I could talk to, say, hey, the next door neighbor or whatever, and say, hey, if you do ever feel like this, or if you are feeling like this is the steps that I did or I took to try and get better. It's never going to go away. You have to accept it. And a big part of this is, you know, telling people that you can accept it, you can manage it, you can move forward with life. The thing that really rattled me, though, is Paul Green, who was an NRL player, coach, Queensland coach, very successful profile in rugby league, was at a Cronulla Sharks reunion on a Friday night and ended his life on a Sunday morning, I'm pretty sure it was. Went home, and you know what? When you hear all the media reports and you know, insights, because we are sort of in the football community, no one knew anything. And I sat back and I said, how does this happen? How does your wife not know? How does your best mate not know? How does it go undiscovered? And then I thought about that, and I was like, well, if I didn't reach out and I didn't go down the right steps I needed to, I could have potentially ended up in a very bad state like these people that do this. And that's where I got talking to Chris. I was like, I'm sick and tired of it. It really hurts me. Like, when I hear people say we didn't even know anything was wrong, that really hurts me. It really it shakes me up inside. So when we got talking about it, I was like, Chris, what can we do? Like, I know there's a lot out there. There's heaps out there, right? There's charities, there's podcasts, there's TV shows, there's resources. But something's still not clicking. And I don't know what it is. So the reason why we started talking about this was, let's get real guys, real people with real issues talking about it. And then from there, try and help them. And if that person can help that person and that person and that person, we're succeeded. I pitched this idea to a friend of mine, and he was pretty blunt about it as well. There's heaps of platforms out there. You'll probably only reach one person, two people. I said, I'm successful and I've reached that one or two people. I'm very happy with that. So Chris came down for a trip and I caught him off guard. We're going fishing and I said, hey, what do you think of this? And I pitched to Chris in the car, and I'll let Chris talk about his sort of past. But I knew that we would connect straight away. And I didn't think it would happen as fast as what I thought, but yeah. That's how it all came about.
I mean, if I'm not sure if you're watching the film or you're listening, but I'm moved because I feel your emotion.
Yeah.
It's making me wilt a little.
Yeah.
But
Same.
right? But I think the passion is real and the care is real.
Yeah.
So Chris, tell us how you sort of got into this, because I think people got to understand that, right? You guys are passionate about it.
Yeah.
And if you're passionate about something, even if you help one person, as you said, how many other people are connected to that one person? Right. So it's super important. Chris, right there, tell us a little about it.
Well, for me, when Chris pitched it to me, and I jumped on board straight away. And the reason for me is, look, I come from a reasonably poor family. I've had a lot of troubles through my upbringing. I've had some family troubles. I didn't know who my real father is. And then in 2013, expecting the birth of my first child, Caden, he was born 2 weeks early and then passed away 2 months later. Then, as a result of that, me and my partner at the time, we went through some troubles, ended up divorcing. And then I went and refound myself, right? So I left everything that I was doing and went traveling and moved around for jobs and various things. But at the time, I never really probably dealt with some of it. One of the things that really struck me was right from the early times, even right when dealing with hospitals, is that the support for men versus women was lacking severely at the time. It is better today than it was in 2013, and then in 2013 it was probably better than it was in year 2000. But even today, I look around and the weight of support for women to men is significantly different. So when he pitched it to me, I'm like, hey, look, this is just another medium that maybe, like Chris said, we can reach out to a couple of people and maybe they'll find a way to not be scared to talk about it, not be scared to bring it up with their best mate and have that conversation. Because I still think some of the charity organisations that I've been involved with over the last few years, one of them really struck a chord with me, and it's now been acquired by Red Nose, and that's why Red Nose is my key support nomination. And it was called Pillars of Strength, and it's all about the fathers who have lost a child. But it also includes, so when they have a charity event, it's the father goes along, but they have to bring their best mate because the best mate's struggling as well and doesn't know how to engage and support. So it's about breaking down that barrier between the individual and the mate. And I really like that aspect of it. So when Chris said it, I went, this kind of works in with what I want. Me and you are best mates. And we had a conversation about how he handled when Caden passed away. Because I never asked anyone, right? I was very selfish. I needed to be at the time, but I wasn't worrying about what Chris and everyone else was feeling. I was trying to deal with what I was trying to deal with. So it's not until later that you really start to realise the impacts on everybody that has happened. So for me, look, it's really important we open up another channel, and we there's a lot of men out there that there's still a stigma whether we like it or not. There's still the stoic men that don't want to break it down and don't open up to their mates. There's still even the story of Beyond the Banter, how we come up with Beyond the Banter. Men love to go to a pub and have banter, right? That's what we do. So we want to go beyond that, and we want to break that down, and don't be afraid to go to the pub and say, you know what, mate, I'm having a bad day. You can still have that genuine conversation and then have a bit of fun later, but just getting it off your chest can make such a big deal, such a big difference, right? And I don't think as men we do that enough. Even me and Chris, I think it was only Saturday, I messaged her and said, mate, I'm not having a good day. Caden's 9th birthday is coming up in 7 days' time. My grandmother's anniversary of her passing was on Saturday or Sunday. And, there was just a lot of things coming up in my mind. And, I reached out to him and said, I'm having a bad day. And would I have done that if we started this conversation 2 months ago?
No way.
Not right. And it's not because I wouldn't think to. It's just that we just don't do it. As men, we just don't do it.
Yeah, it's quite interesting you should say that. I'm blessed to be surrounded by lots of professional and personal women, and they they actually can tell much better. And when they open up to us, it's much easier. And I say that because I do speak to a lot of females. I don't talk to men about it. It's a bit odd. I don't see myself talking to another gentleman about my struggles or stress at work. But it's okay if I speak to my wife or another lady who I associate. It's just interesting how our brains function that way, isn't it?
I don't know if it's a company thing. I don't know what it is. But since we've started this, the feedback I've got from a lot of people and professionals is that it's normally the wife that reaches out to the professional and say, hey, my husband's struggling. What's the first steps? And it's like, well, in my head, it's like, why the guy should be like the person going through it, male, female, whatever. The first step should be going to see someone and talk about it. And I found that very interesting that in most cases, well, the feedback that I've got so far is that, it's always the wife or the partner or whatever, whoever it is the significant other. It's them making the first step for the person that's going.
It's almost the stigma is almost a little too much.
Yeah, and
to break down.
And when you think about it, there's so many platforms. Everywhere you look now, we're doing this for mental health. We're doing this, we're doing that. But why is there still that stigma? It's like you're embarrassed or ashamed to talk about it. The way I think about it is if you're in a work environment, right? And like me and you and everyone out there, we've got a diary full of meetings we need to go for the week. We get COVID, I've got to cancel those meetings. Would you apologise for getting sick with COVID that's going to rule you out for a week? This stuff that goes on, you can't switch it on and off. You can't choose when you want to get it, and you can't choose when it's going to go away. It's a cliche, but it is a journey, and it's an understanding, and it's about working out how you can process it, accept it, and most importantly, share it with the people around you so they know what's going on. It's very interesting. The stuff that I've got come through so far is very, very interesting. So,
and I think there's still a bit of a cultural stigma, but I think the stigma is imposed on ourselves. I mean, right from when you're a boy, right, when you're a kid, you hear toughen up, harden up, get up. You know, you don't. Certainly, I grew up with my grandfather, so he was very old school, right? So if I fell over, it was very much get up and get on with it, right? You're a bloke, get on with it. So you just didn't talk about that sort of stuff. And I think there's the cultural element, but then there's the self stigma. You know, I can't show weakness. You know, I'm a male. I'm expected to be strong, and regardless of what's going on in here, I have to pretend I'm strong. And that's what we break down.
It's quite interesting. I love cracking jokes when things get serious. I remember a comedy, a few years ago, I think Russell Peters, he goes, be a man, do the right thing, talk to your mate when it comes to this stuff, right? Don't be a man and just not talk about it. It's just not right.
Great comedian.
Yes.
I saw Carl Barron last night. He was at the State Theatre. One of my colleagues, we went and saw Carl Barron. It was really good. But I think that pretty much sums it up.
Fantastic. So where from here, guys?
So look, what we want to get out of the podcast is pretty simple. As we progress with this thing, we're going to interview each other, dig a little bit deeper into our previous history and our experiences, but then we want to turn it around, and we just want real people, real blokes going through real situations to reach out to us, have a chat to us, get you on a podcast. If you want to reach out and you're not prepared to talk right now, but maybe it's something you want to do in the new year or whatever, that's fine. We don't plan on going anywhere. So what we need from everyone is to reach out to us. We know everyone's got a story. We don't care how big it is, how small it is, but how did you deal with it? How did you talk to people? Because the person listening on the podcast or whatever can relate to it, and that's all we really want. So we encourage everyone to reach out to us whichever way you want. We have a website, beyondthebanter.org. There's a contact us section there. Chuck your details in there. I've reached out to a few guys already. I've had follow-up phone calls with them, just have a chat and see how things are going and see where it fits in with everything. And we're very excited by the stuff that we've got come through already. So, look, we really need people to come along and open up their mind, and we can withhold identities, we can change voices, we can do all sorts of stuff. If it's going to help you and it's going to help the person next door, then we really, really need you to come out and help us along the journey. It's a partnership. So
and it is a journey, right? So we're just two blokes that have had some troubles that are trying to support each other in the community, but we're also learning along this as much as everyone else. So while we're learning along these podcasts by getting these experts, hopefully the people that are out there listening are learning along the journey as well, right? So, and that's what I hope to see out of it, is that we learn and understand our emotions and feelings and what we're dealing with, but helping everybody else along the way.
Absolutely. I think the website's a great place.
Yep.
But if people don't want to put their details, I think you should put an anonymous one.
Yep.
Like put your story in there, we'll talk about it. And they can listen and see what your thoughts are.
That's a great idea.
Right? So I think that'll be a really good way to reach out.
Yeah. And yeah, that's a really good idea. And you can do it like a guest book, or you can do it, all sorts of ways. That's a really good idea. So yeah, we encourage it. Put a fake name in, put a fake email address in.
We'll talk about it.
Just put the message in there you want to talk about, and we'll discuss it. If you don't want to come on, we'll discuss it with, if we can relate to it. If we can't, we'll get the right people to talk about it.
I love it how you've challenged a lot of men out there to do that. I'm going to challenge you guys to do your next podcast in the next fortnight, and I'll help you with that as well. What do you reckon, boys?
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
We can do that.
Yeah, 100%. We it's funny. I was excited today. I was frustrated with the technical hiccups, and we still haven't got that right. But I wasn't nervous. I don't feel nervous. I feel natural, and I think it just says a lot about it. Chris, you're opening yourself up. I'm opening myself up. People are going to open themselves up, and it's just it's so good to see. So good to see, and
And, I'm quite an open person anyway, and a large reason why I've been able to move forward is because I've had great support networks around me. But the reason I've had great support networks is because I've been willing to tell them. So this is just another platform for me to tell my story, which helps me in the process, right? Because it's certainly going to be nothing left on the table. But if people don't want to hear my story, they can switch off. But by a few episodes in, you'll have a pretty good understanding of what I've dealt with and what Chris has dealt with along the way. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know that a lot of the vendors I sort of look at, we're actually in the Nutanix office at the moment.
Yep.
And they're super pumped to provide their space, but also their support as well in their networking and stuff. I know Caroline Ambers on there, Matt Moore, you guys know quite well, and they're right behind you as well. So.
And we can't do it without their help. We really can't. And look, we're going through the processes. We're trying to get everything set up in the back end. We sort of jumped in and jumped in the pool very quickly, and we thought, what about this? What about that? What about that? But we didn't want that to stop us from moving forward, and we can't do it without the support of coming in and using an office like this and using the space. And we're very grateful, and we're so excited to see, well, for me anyway, and yourself, I'm excited to see where we can take this with vendors and how we can really implement this in the workplace and see where it all goes. We're very excited by it all.
What started off with 2 or 3 topics for a couple of podcasts is, what are we up to? About 15 topips or something.
Easy.
And some of those can be broken into multiple parts.
Yeah.
So,
There's plenty. We're not going anywhere.
I will say this, gentlemen, we will get the tech right, and it'll be sharp the next one.
100%. 100%. Yeah.
But it's more important to start, right?
Yes.
Get the message out there, and let's keep powering on.
Yep. And we sort of pulled a prank on everyone. We did say, I think we said the 6th of December was going to be the first sort of release, but we're like, nah, let's just get this out as soon as possible. And that in turn is from the discussions we've had is, wait, you've got everything. What are you doing? So we can't wait for it to get out there. So,
perfect, gentlemen. Any last words?
Look, I think people need to understand the way the charity and the donation thing works. We ourselves are not a charity. We're going through the processes of trying to work out how we can fit in and do stuff for the wider community and to get to that status. But for the time being, we're not. We're just a platform. We're just a podcast. We're just trying to help people. The way it currently works is we use a platform called My Cause, which is an online platform. When people come on and donate money, it's automatically split off 50-50 into the 2 chosen charities. I've chosen Gotcha for Life. I really love what they're doing, in particular Gus Wallen and the messaging that he's getting around, that he's frustrated and pissed off about the whole thing as well. and he wants to get down to zero suicides, and he's messaging behind it. And that's why I've chosen it. And we'll sort of go into that as the podcasts go on. But I think, and I'll throw to Chris to talk about Red Nose, but the thing that I guess we really need to make sure and be very clear about is that when that money does come in, it's split 50-50 automatically through my cause, and it's deposited into the both charities. I think it's at the first of every month as a lump sum. And so we don't handle any of the money. We don't give any receipts. That's handled by the two charities via my cause. But I'll throw over to you, Chris, for Red Nose, and you can talk about Red Nose.
Yeah, similar. I mean, Red Nose is more around grief, I guess, than men's mental health personally. But there's a lot of fathers out there that have dealt with that, and that's through my experience as well. So that's why I've chosen it this time. And then with the elements that they're starting to grow. So Red Nose are the parent company. And then they've got SANS, which fall underneath that one as one of their arms, and that's about infant loss and death, stillbirth. And then they've just, as I said last year, partnered with Pillars of Strength, which is more around the men's support, right? So they're really starting to invest heavily into that men's side. They've got 24-hour support. They've got men's support lines. There's men's groups we do via Zoom, and I help facilitate those. And even just with those conversations, often you'll see men jump on for one or two chats and then you don't see them again. Whereas from my understanding, the women will jump on for a couple of months going forward, right? So they're more open to receiving that communication. And that's why I think it's really important. But there is tools starting to grow. Men's Line is a great resource. It's got online chat as well. I know a lot of men don't like to talk. So there's a lot of platforms out there that do online chat programs or text service as well, and Beyond Blue, of course. So there's plenty growing, but Red Nose are certainly starting to invest pretty heavily, and that's why they've been right behind us on this one.
We're very humbled to be able to even associate ourselves with those two charities. So, look, the last thing I just want to say, I mean, I'm really and I'll throw to you for closing, Chris, unless Tony, you have any more of your questions. But people that know me, this is a raw appeal. I'm asking you, if you're going through anything, you need help, or you've gone through something and you've come through the other end and you know how to deal with it. I'm asking you to reach out to us, help us, come on the journey on this platform. We've got so many good ideas on where we want to take this, and I can't wait to 12 months down the track and we'll see where this thing has really, really gotten to. But I'm just asking for your help, because if we don't have your stories and we don't have your experiences, we won't be able to take it as far as we want. This is going to be a community thing. Don't care who you are, don't care what you do, don't care past experiences, reach out to us. We want to know. We want to hear from you. So I'll throw over to you, Chris, for closing comments. Yeah.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. And one of the things that I encourage people is to think of your brain as just another muscle of your body, right? So people go to the gym and work all their muscles. You need to work on your brain as well. It's a muscle, and you've got to invest that same amount of time in it. And the old story of data in, data out. If you feed it right, it'll treat you right. And just growing on that and making
sure. Is that an IT analogy right there? Yeah, that's a great idea. I can see that on a shirt.
But if you broke your arm, you'd go to the doctor, right?
Yeah, 100%.
And that's where we've got to try and get people thinking about it.
Yep, 100%.
Perfect. Well, gentlemen, I think that's probably enough for people to chew on.
Yep.
Let's get this content out there, and let's work on the next one to see if we can drive some more awareness about beyond the banter show.
Beautiful. Thank you, Tony. Really appreciate it.
Gentlemen, thank you for your time.
Chris. I'll speak to you shortly.